Early in the year of 1953, Reverend George G. Haney saw the need for establishing a Southern Missionary Baptist church around the area of Lebanon, Ohio. Under the leading hand of God, Reverend Haney pursued this idea. The West Maureen Baptist Church sponsored their first mission under the leadership of their pastor, Reverend Travis Hudson. After several weeks of prayer, visiting, and discussing the idea of a new mission, Reverend Haney, along with 26 other Christian-minded people, held the first meeting of the Southern Missionary Baptist Mission at the IOOF building on Mulberry Street, Lebanon, Ohio. The State Convention of Baptists in Ohio, affiliated with the Southern Missionary Baptists, paid the first month's rent of $35 for the one room used in this building. 1 month later, this small group of devoted Christians moved to the YMCA Hall on Broadway. The rent at this location was $25 a month. By this time, the need of having more services, they increased their meetings to Sunday and Wednesday evenings. Due to the growth of the congregation and the desire to build for God's kingdom, it was decided upon purchasing a lot that would later be the building site of the long dreamed of church.
I think I started there in 1954, I believe it was. And they had curtains, petition curtains drawn for classrooms. So the noise was just, you could hear everybody, you know. Best thing I can remember, I was up in their attic doing something and walking back out. Somebody unplugged the light and I missed a stud and went through the ceiling. I remember that sticks in my mind so bad. But at that time, it was just a concrete block building. Had no idea what it would be today, but we knew God was in it. And as long as God's in anything, it's going to survive and prosper.
Well, we started there when we were teenagers. Every Sunday night at the training union. And my girlfriend would take me home. And then finally I got to thinking, well, maybe I better stay for church. You know, that's awful. She has to take me home. So I started staying for church on Sunday night. And then finally, eventually, I got going to Sunday school and church. And eventually I got under conviction and was saved. Then when we sold our church down on Columbus Avenue, we had to go somewhere. So we ended up at the loafing shed out on 122. And we was just there until the weather changed. So in the fall, then we went over to Coomer's storefront. And we stayed there until Drake Road Church was ready, that we could get into the fellowship hall and have church service there. But I know when we went to the loafing shed, we was out there cleaning it out and everything, because that used to be a bar. And so we was about done, and I went outside and I was sweeping off the little porch that was out there and things, and the car drove up. This guy got out and he says, "What's going on here?" I said, "Well, we're going to have church here. It's going to start tomorrow." He says, "Well, I can't believe that. This is a bar and it's going to be a church. I can't believe it." So I invited him to come to church. He never did. Then we was very happy when we was able to get into the church on Drake Road.
Back in 1994, we were in such a small facility and we started growing like crazy. We had Sunday school classes in coat closets. We had Sunday school class in my office. It was that crazy, but it was such a blessing. And so then we had to grow and build. And in 1996, God opened the door for us to build on a gymnasium, and we built on about 11 classrooms. We decided to go that route versus building a sanctuary at that time. We really felt like we could go to 2 worship services and God would honor that, and we'd make educational space. We would use the gymnasium to welcome new people to our property, have a great place to fellowship. It was a wonderful time. The best way I can describe it, we added a balcony about a year and a half later because we quickly filled up 2 services. And we thought, well, we got to go to 3 services, and we did. We went to 3 worship services and 3 Sunday schools, 8 o'clock, 9:30, and 11. Then we ran into another great problem. We just kept growing. God kept blessing us. And all of a sudden, we got to figure out, what are we going to do? Are we going to build a sanctuary? One day, I'm sitting, and I get a call from Roy Ward. He said, I just got a call from a lady out on Drake Road, same road we're on, about a mile and a half out, that offered me her property. Roy told her, said, I can't buy it. I've got one under construction right now, but I know somebody that will. And if you'd sell it to a church. And so it wasn't 2 hours later, I got in the car and drove out here, and we met with the lady, and her husband had passed, and she wanted to sell. And so she had a home and almost 70 acres of land, and we sat down in her living room, and she said, well, first of all, I don't want to subdivide it, so you have to buy it all. And I said, well, yes, ma'am. What do you want for it? And she said, well, for the home and 70 acres, I'll sell it to you for $700,000. And we were going to spend $750,000 for 5 acres, and God gave us a home and almost 70 acres of land for $700,000. It gets better. We transacted the sale, and the week after we completed everything, I was unfortunately doing a funeral at the Stein-Kilburn Funeral Home, and Mike Stein was the county commissioner. And Mike asked me the question, hey, I saw you guys bought some property. What are you going to do with your church? I said, well, Mike, we're going to sell it. And he said, well, what do you want for it? I said, Mike, I don't know. I've not even had it appraised. I said, I've had some realtors look at it, and they're saying somewhere around $1.2 million, maybe $1.3 million. He said, well, when we're all done here, do you mind if I bring a few people up and take a look at your church? I said, Mike, no, I don't mind. So about 4 hours later, to make a long story short, about 50 people showed up. And here they come, and they all went through it and walked through it probably an hour and a half, 2 hours, and walked out, and Mike walked up to me and said, we'll take it. He said, now here's the problem we have. He said, we are in 5 leases in different areas. We've got to let all those leases run out before we move in, so we don't even need the building for 15 months. If you guys will just stay there and maintain the building, you can stay there rent-free. So for 15 months, which is exactly how long it took to build the new facility out on Drake Road, we stayed for rent-free, which we were paying about, I don't know, 10 grand a month or something rent. And I mean, God just continued to bless. The county allowed us to stay in that facility. When push came to shove, we had to be out. And so we had our last service there, the last Sunday in January, and we had to be out by Monday morning. And so we thought we had it all planned, we had it lined up really well, and then God decided to throw in a little curveball called a blizzard. So we had services on that Sunday morning, and when we dismissed, we had to move an entire church. And we did it in 4 hours. In 4 hours, we moved an entire facility out here. I'm telling you, it was the craziest thing I think I've ever seen. We had a semi-trailer that came, which was a blessing, but we didn't know if we could get it out here or not because of the roads being so bad. We loaded it up anyway by faith, and God blessed. And behind that semi, without exaggerating, 25 to 30 pickup trucks. I mean, we had rocking chairs hanging out of the pickup trucks. It looked like the Beverly Hillbillies going down Drake Road. There were neighbors that came outside and were waving at us. They knew what was going on. It was the craziest time whatsoever to see us relocate out here. You know, another neat thing that I forgot about was when we were building the original new facility at 2634, while the construction was going on, we brought our members out here and we gave everybody a permanent marker. And people went around our facility, and on the steel studs, on the cement floor, they wrote their favorite Bible scriptures. They put a note down there about how Jesus, some of them put the date that they gave their life to Jesus on those steel girders. I mean, it was just an incredible time. I mean, people would stop and pray over classrooms that didn't have drywall on the walls. That's what made it great.
God has blessed us with a great facility. 72 acres, a pond, a Frisbee golf course, just a beautiful, beautiful campus. But really what I'm excited, not so much about the campus, about the building, really excited about the people, because we have a history of being a people that wants to reach the nations for Jesus, not just reaching our community for Jesus, which we need to do that. We need to tell the whole world the whole gospel, but we want to reach the nations for Jesus. And I'm excited that somewhere along the way, it was instilled in this church to be on mission for Jesus. We talk about missions, oftentimes we talk about, people automatically they start thinking about foreign missions, and rightfully so, but we know that outside our four walls is our local mission field. And so what excites me about our history as a church, I know it started much, much smaller, and now we see this massive building, this massive campus with a lot of people, but what excites me is that we truly have been a people on mission to reach our community and our nations for the nations for Jesus. It is hard to believe it has been officially a year. Man, it has flown by in so many ways. It's like coming home. 20-something years ago, I was a church planter in Monroe. And the last year I was a church planter, I worked here in Lebanon. And so it's just like, it's come full circle. It's like, man, God, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come full circle and come back to this community. And so it's been a great year. And I don't want to rest and say, wow, we've arrived or we've accomplished this, that, and the other. I want to sit there and say, God, you've done some great things, but I want to see you do even greater things in the days to come. I've been asked quite a bit, Pastor, where are we going? Where are we going over the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? 5 purposes of the church: worship, fellowship, discipleship, ministry, and missions. So everything we do needs to flow and connect to one of those purposes: worship, fellowship, discipleship, ministry, and missions. And so I can tell you this, that we're going to be a church, that we're going to continue to have authentic, engaging worship. We're going to be a church also that is about fellowship, that we're going to learn to grow closer together as we also learn to grow closer to our community. Discipleship, intentional discipleship. Well, Jesus tells us the Great Commission, go and make disciples. I have a passion and dream and desire to say, all right, let's start more small groups that are intentionally discipling people who will be disciples who make disciples who make disciples. We're going to continue to be missional. We have missionaries all over the world. But one of the things I've shared with Pastor Andrew is I said, I never want the sun to set on the work of Urbancrest Church. Could you imagine if we had missionaries in every time zone? I would love to have a missionary in every time zone. Not to say we have one in every time zone, because we have missionaries in every time zone telling the whole world the whole gospel, which that's what we're called to do. And so 10, 15, 20 years, can't really speak to it right now, but the next 5 years, I can tell you this, we're going to heavily focus on worship, fellowship, discipleship, missions, and ministry. One thing I want you to know about Urbancrest, we're a church that loves Jesus and loves people. We love Jesus, and it shows through our worship, it shows through our engagement. We love people, and it shows through our missions, it shows through the ministries that we have. When you think about it, we have our legacy builders every Wednesday during the school year in our gym, making food for hundreds and hundreds of people, many of which are church folks, many of which are not, where people from our community can come in and join us, be our guests and join us for supper. I love that we're trying to love on our community through the baskets of hope, through the school supply giveaway, through all the different ministries that we offer here, as we're trying to minister to people in the church, but also trying to minister to people outside the church. So I love that we're truly passionate about the Lord Jesus. We love Jesus, but we also love people.